Welcome to another episode of Life in Bali. I'm DC Puba of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Doga Bandita and Feline Cuchita, and hopefully very soon with dear lovely Katrinka. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, not suffering financially, and able to get out and do whatever you want within the confines of the universal precept to do as little harm as possible. Our guest today is Virginia Helzainka, a co-founder of Unspoken Bali Poetry Slam, and she will come in. We'll give her a call at 32 minutes and 37 seconds. You notice I said with Doggett Bandita and Feline Cuchita. Last week I reported on how Cuchi had run off to a neighbor, jolted us. And then she showed up after being gone for 3 days and sort of pranced in front of me a little, and when I made advances to say hello, she turned around and walked away. Ah, the pain. And but then she showed up like the next day for a meal. She showed up in the morning, hung out a little bit, came back later, had a meal, and then hadn't seen her for, hadn't seen her for a week. And then tonight, in the dark of night, I heard her out the back. And she comes in off the roof and there's stuff she can jump down, and get down. And she came, and I was unusually obsequious to her. Welcome back and everything. Immediately, it was after midnight. I got out some food and her favorite, like salmon or something, and gave her some. And Bondi was all excited and dancing around, so I gave Bondi a little food, which I never give her food outside of meals. I'll throw her little scraps of crackers if I'm eating something like that, but not at the dinner table, in the kitchen if I'm working on something, which I shouldn't have done because it totally changed the way she related to me. Anyway, so Coochie is back, but she might be gone again. We don't care. I mean, as long as she's okay, she's got other people that are feeding her that she likes, that's fine. A brief Bali virus report. June, after a few months of just being very, very low, June it increased. For a long time there were just 4 deaths and just a few hundred cases having been reported. Then in June it shot up, and then it was like at the very beginning of July it was like 26, 27 deaths, and then in July it's like leveled off again. I mean, the number of active cases has gone down, and the number of recovered cases has gone way up. And it's and the number of deaths has not increased. So we'll see how it's going. They've got an interesting combination of being strict and loose here. I mean, a lot of places are open, and the traffic is not quite what it was, but people are wearing masks in general, and there's not a lot of defiance or anything like that. So we'll see how it goes. They're planning to open up in September for some tourist traffic again. Even people from other islands, they've got to. They can't just come here. They've got to take tests and have a reason. So before we call Virginia, there's the accident report, which is called Morning Mayhem. I was up really late last night working on, Katrinka's coming back. She's scheduled to come back very soon, like on the 19th, and wow. But anyway, ever since she's been gone, and I started doing podcasts, I've been trying to get as much done as possible while she's away. And, it's not just podcasts. There's all sorts of other things happening with the daily posts on Cuke What's New blog and Cuke Nonsense blog, and doing a little work on the Suzuki lecture archive and other things. All these emails come and requests and things. And doing a little stuff with music. But mainly trying to get a lot done with the podcast. So I got to sleep at about 2:30 last night. I don't like to stay up that late. I like to get up early. But, if I get going, I just stay up. So anyway, I woke up a little earlier than I wanted to get up. The sun was up, but I could tell I needed more sleep. But I had to pee, so I went to the bathroom. And then, when I do then, I'm just getting up. I sort of hold on to things, or I put my arm next to things to stabilize me because I'm a little woozy, I've been sleeping. And so when I was leaving the bathroom, I put my hand on the door jamb, to go around when I was going out. And then the striker, I think that's what it's called, I caught my wrist on it. And what I'm describing and what I'm calling the striker is, when the door closes and there's a latch that goes in, it goes into a metal plate. Like this is a stainless steel plate with a hole. So the striker, I don't know what to call them, goes in that hole. Well, that little plate is square, and it has, rectangular edges that aren't really sharp, but they're at a 90-degree angle, and it sticks out a little from the door jamb. I think I'm using the right word there. And that corner of that metal, my wrist caught on it as I was leaving, and the force of my body was leaving, and all of a sudden I'm like hanging from it sideways, and it punctured into my wrist, right on a vein or an artery. I don't know which is which. And it sort of knocked me out. I mean, but it went in, and I was like in a little bit of shock. You know that feeling. And so I got back in bed and I got a tissue, and there was a little bit of blood coming out of it. I could see it was right on top of a vein, and I was surprised there wasn't more blood. There was just a little bit of blood, but like a nice big round wet drop. And so what you want to do is put pressure on it. So I did. I just sat there with pressure on it. And I realized that was it. I was going to stay up. I always sleep till I can tell I'm not going to sleep anymore. And, sometimes that's 4 hours sleep, 5, 6, 7. Rarely 8. Very, very rarely 9. And then every once in a while, like a couple of times a year, 10, 11, 12, I don't know, making up for something or dealing with fighting something that's attacking in there. That's pretty rare. 12 might be like once every few years. And I go, wow. Or unless I get some flu or something, and then really just can sleep so much. That doesn't happen very often. All right. So anyway, I was just sitting on the bed, holding that tissue over it. And I did that for a while. I pulled it up, and I thought, okay, I'll go brush my teeth. I'll go take a shower and brush my teeth. So I noticed, I went in, and I noticed that there was already another little drop of blood on the outside. It was like the same as it had been before I was putting the pressure on it. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I took a shower. I just take a cold shower in the morning, which is, and this is the coolest time of the year, so it's very invigorating. Our shower, we've got one of these like rain heads there. So it's like this blast of cold water. It's sort of cool. And, well, I shouldn't say that. I should say it's sort of neat, because I've already said it's cold water. Anyway, so then I dried off, and I put a Band-Aid. I got a little piece of toilet paper and blotted the blood, and I put a Band-Aid on it, which don't they call that plaster here? Maybe that's what the English and the Australians call it too. So then I brushed my teeth, and then I heard the loudest noise all of a sudden. And it was so loud. I looked to see, it sounded like it was coming out of the room. But I looked to see, there was nothing electric or anything. It was like an electric sound. And I thought, oh, maybe that's they're spraying for mosquitoes next door, and it's coming through the window. There's a high screen window there. It's a high screen window, but it has glass, two glasses that the one going up and the one going down leave an airspace of like an inch in between, so there's ventilation. But I thought, well, I guess it's coming from there. So I walked around to the back door, and the sound was coming from the bathroom. So I went back in, and it was really loud. It was like unpleasantly loud. And I just looked and looked. I turned the water on. I thought maybe it's pipes. Could not figure it out. And I thought, well, maybe I should call Mudik, who's a plumber electrician that comes here if we need something. And I thought, you know, I do have to replace the ceiling fan in my... I have a little storage room upstairs that's a bedroom. It's a small bedroom, but and turn it into like my office storage and my clothing, where I keep my clothes and anything of mine. There's nothing of mine in the, well, I have a couple of places in the bedroom where I keep things, but I don't keep any clothes in there or anything when Katrinka's here. So, anyway, I thought, well, and if I'm going to be doing podcasts from upstairs, there's an old fan in that room that makes too much noise. And that's the last old fan we'd have. Every single one of them was replaced, and we put in new ones. We fanned the place up because we don't run air conditioning. Katrinka likes to run it at night when we're sleeping in the bedroom, and she likes that because it dries out the clothes. I never do. But we don't run it any time except then when we're together. All right. So I thought, well, I'll call Mudik and talk to him about the fan, and he can tell me what this noise is. And I thought, no, I don't really need the fan now. I can record in the guest room upstairs, and if we're going to need it, like if one of our sons is coming, then I can get the fan put in. Don't do it until you absolutely have to have it. All right. So what's that noise? So anyway, while this was happening, I'd made my hot water and had my hot water. I always do that first in the morning, and put away the things in the kitchen. Well, not while that was happening, right afterwards. Then I went back, that noise is still there. Where is? And I figured, well, there's something like some pump or something making a noise next door. Maybe it's upstairs and it's coming straight across and going into the window. Because, sound can travel in strange ways. Like, and you can hear things sometimes that are happening far off, especially like in the mountains or on the water. Really, very, very far off. You can just hear voices and you don't even see them. All right. So I went out and sat. I closed the door to the bathroom, and I went out and sat. And I didn't do the walking meditation. There wasn't going to be time. I would have had to choose, and I was still sort of out of it from, I don't know, that little tiny thing on my wrist. Really, it made me sort of out of it. Like I said, I was like in a little mini shock or something. It was interesting. I've had much worse happen without getting that sort of feeling, So, I sat there a while, and it was so nice. Oh, it was so nice. Like, as I sat down, I looked at the courtyard, and this is a time when the leaves aren't falling. A few months ago, it was just all leaves, enormous amounts of leaves. We got these frangipani trees, frangipani. Japun is what they call them here. Our Cambodia, I don't know what the difference is. They're both frangipani, or maybe Japun is Balinese and Cambodia is Indonesian. I'm not sure. We always just call them Japun. But the courtyard is just covered in frangipani flowers. So, in the morning, I sweep the courtyard because and I sweep it out front, in front of the gate, which doesn't need much. It'll have some leaves or some flowers. That's social pressure. That's like they can allow the whole their rivers and beaches and trash to be everywhere, but you sweep in front of your place. Although the trash thing, I think, is getting better, but probably not fast enough. Such a problem, worldwide problem. Anyway, so the other day, I mean, as we embarked on this era of just flowers, just an occasional leaf, and they're just all over, hundreds of them out there. It's so beautiful. And Kadek had arrived, and she'll do the sweeping, if I haven't gotten to it. And so I was sweeping when she arrived, and she said, I was just starting. She said, "Why don't you just leave it? It's really beautiful." Very good. Boy, I jumped at that. Yeah. So we've left the flowers there, and there's so many of them. We were collecting them for years. I've been collecting frangipani flowers and drying them on the ballet, the sort of raised stage area out front, or drying them on tabletops and stuff, and then she'd collect them and take them and sell them for incense. And it used to be that they were worth quite a bit, but she said there's so many people in the country now collecting them and everything, she can't sell them anymore. So, but we're still doing it. And I got a big basket that's really nice with very fine, the holes in it are small enough so we can put all the flowers. We're filling it with dried flowers. And I'm not sure what she has in mind. I mean, we're just going to compost it, I guess. And it's going to be time to do that. So anyway, all right. So I'm meditating, right? I'm just starting to meditate, but I look out over the courtyard first. Nice. And all the flowers. And then I listen. And if the wind is just right, and this is a windy time of year, the leaves will flutter. It wasn't long ago, it seemed all the leaves had fallen. I looked up and I thought, my God, it's like the trees are going to die. There's no leaves. And then they grow so fast. And now there's all these leaves. And the leaves on frangipani trees are, they're about, say, 4 to 6 inches long, and they have some width, so they flutter. If the wind is just right, they flutter. And I have actually thought it was starting to rain and gone outside and going, what's that noise? And I go, oh, that's the fluttering of the leaves. So anyway, there we have the beautiful flowers on the courtyard, the fluttering of the leaves. There's two orchids in bloom. One of them's really big. I think it's several flowers. And then the bougainvillea is starting to flower. The bougainvillea is starting to flower. And we have the bougainvillea, it will take over the world, I tell you, if you let it. With our last gardener, who was an older man, maybe only 20 years younger than me, a guy with his own villa who did gardening, a villa with his family, an extended family, and he knew Kadek. They were very, very friendly. Neumann and I would joke about them. And he'd say, "Oh, I'd say Kadek's boyfriend's coming today." And he didn't do anything extra, And so I kept telling him I don't want the bougainvillea climbing all over everything. But anyway, the bougainvillea just covered the the roof of the Bali up front. It was getting up on the porch and the second floor. And in the back, it had gone completely up over the frangipani tree in the back and onto the roofs and onto the neighbor's roof. I really wanted a new gardener. I mean, I liked him a lot. He was very mature. Our prior gardener had been a great gardener, but he was young and he was undependable and he would take things, and I lost control of him. And finally, I told him we didn't need a gardener anymore. And, he always wanted to borrow money, and he'd beg for money, and he'd bring his baby over and stand at the door and say, can't I just borrow? It was too much. And boy, was he a good gardener, though. And he did wonderful work on the beds, lining them with bricks and stuff and doing really fine stonework. And he did some plumbing stuff for us. He was great. But, he didn't have good character. Newman said he had a long arm. And, take things. Not only would he take things, but he wasn't dishonest. I'd say, hey, Benny, where's the... I can't find my pliers. And he said, oh, yeah, I took them about 2 weeks ago. And I said, well, what about the bigger screwdriver? Oh, yeah, I took that too. Hey, man, bring them back. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. So he brings it back, wrong screwdriver, really bad one. The pliers were right. But, oh, God. Anyway, oh, yeah, and Bondi didn't like him. Bondi would always bark at him, which Neilman said was because he ate dog meat. And our vet said that too. Anyway, he was from Flores, the island of Flores, Christian. Everybody I meet from Flores is Christian. Okay, so anyway, I sit there, and finally Cadet shows up. She comes on Tuesdays, and she just brings parks her motorbike in the courtyard and brings a little coconut water for me and puts it in the refrigerator, and then brings some fruit and puts that in there. Oh, and when she arrives, just when she drives up, Bondi just goes nuts. She's just so happy, her tail's wagging. She's right at the gate, and then Cadet opens the gate, and Bondi runs out and jumps up on her, and she runs around smelling her bike and everything. Bondi just loves her. And then, she goes to a neighbor's and works first. And Bonnie comes with her and plays with their dog. And then our neighbor, Yvonne, who's great. She's from the Philippines, married to Tom, who used to be a roadie and then a drummer for the Allman Brothers. I guess a substitute drummer or something. But Yvonne will brush her and bathe her and stuff. Bonnie loves going over there, and she'll play with their dog that they call Boule, which means white person. We're Boule. So she was just getting ready to leave with Bonnie. She was outside the deck, and then I hear that buzzing. Even though I had the door closed, still hear it. I said, hey, Cadet, come back. And I said, I want you to look at something. So they came back in, and I said, go into the bathroom. Tell me, what is that sound? And the strangest thing happened. It was like, well, a combination of embarrassing and sort of, shocking a little. She walked in. I said, there's this sound. I said, it's not as loud now, but it was so loud, I don't know where it's from. And she pointed down in the floor of the shower, shampoo bottles and soap dish, and there's a there's a big wide plastic cup that I keep my toothpaste and toothbrush in. It was down there, and the toothbrush was running. It was the battery-powered electric toothbrush. And the bath, this is like a tiled Japanese bath. And the sound coming from down there was amplified by it. To really deafeningly amplified. And I was like, I didn't notice that. I didn't know that it fell. I mean, I took a shower. I had just taken a shower. And then I brushed my teeth. And all that fell down, and I didn't notice it. I was awake. And that sound, and I look all over, and I can't see it, and it's right down there. I just didn't know what to say. So I said thanks, and she picked it all up, and I turned the toothbrush off. It had been running for like an hour, and so I really don't like to waste. So it's gonna run out of power now, and I'll be using it without the power. And I love the vibrating toothbrushes, but I will refuse to stop using it until the bristles are old enough. So that's the accident report for this morning mayhem. So now let's give a call to Virginia Helzainka, co-founder of the Unspoken Bali Poetry Slam. See what she has to say, okay?
Hello, David.
Hello, Virginia. How are you?
Hi. I am doing good. How are you?
Okay. I just got back from the beach an hour ago,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's finally open.
You see a lot of people?
No, not at all.
Oh,
No,
okay.
not here. You know, there were some people would go when it was closed, and
Oh,
oh yeah, we just walk right in. And if you had a mask, the Petchalong would even let you some, depending on the day. Some days, like Sunday, they were afraid of too many people. Uh,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, it depended on who was there, whatever. But there was hardly anybody. I mean, even when it's busy here,
Mm-hmm.
it's not real busy on, Amurtasari Beach, when you get toward Mercure or whatever. But it was
Uh-huh.
almost all locals uh, doing that. Uh, and a lot of guys flying their kites.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Virginia, I
Mm-hmm.
met you through Unspoken Poetry. I met you at a poetry slam here. God, how long ago? 4 years ago? 3 years ago? Um,
2 years ago, I guess.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have
Uh-huh,
noticed
uh-huh.
it. All right, yeah, I guess so. All right, 2 years ago. Wow. Um, so um, first, do I pronounce your last name Helzainka?
Yes, correct.
Virginia Helzainka. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're a co-founder of Unspoken Poetry Bali, right?
Un Unspoken Bali Poetry Slam.
So tell us
hmm
about that, would you?
Okay. So, Spoken Bali Poetry Slam is like a community movement founded by me and my two friends, Doni and Dita, in 2018. We started the movement because we were hungry for more poetry events and especially for the poetry slam itself because we only
Hmm.
been having it once a year at the Ubud Brothers Festival. And when we even joined the event at the Ubud Brothers Festival, a lot of the audience and a lot of the participants are mainly international audience and Indonesians from outside of Bali. Like Balinese themselves are not that many.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we see that poetry slam is a very valuable, um, like a space for people to express themselves through their own poetry. And we just want to spread the culture of poetry slam and telling the locals that there are not just one way of reading a poetry that Indonesians probably know, like patriotic kind of way. But like you can also read it in the way that you want it to be in the poetry slam, and it like expressing your own poetry. So that's why we started the movement, and we don't want it to be just in one place. We want it to be just spread it all over Bali. So that's why we started to planning um, throughout the year in which city we're going to go.
Hmm.
hmm And then at the end of the year, for every best performers in each city that we've already visited that year, at the end, we will gather them again for like the final Grand Slam.
Hmm. That was in Ubud.
Yes, uh-huh.
When did you start?
We started in 2018.
Oh, so you've just been going 2 years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I didn't really know. Well,
mm-hmm,
maybe I did and forgot. Wow. Well,
mm-hmm.
so what was your first slam?
The first slam was in December 2018. We had it in Ubud um, because this is a like movement with volunteer kind of work. So we don't create revenues. So the venues and places that we go to is also like our connections, our friends, and
Yeah,
the venue in Ubud are also like the owner of the place. The place is liking the Poetry Slam event so much, and also would be happy for us to have the event there. So that's why we chose Ubud for the last grand final,
yeah,
as well as being in the middle of Bali. So we think like it's kind of fair.
yeah.
hmm
What's the name of that place again?
it's called Battle Nut.
Oh yeah, Battle Nut. Battle Nut.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's a great name. Great name
yeah,
and very nice woman owns it.
yeah,
Mm.
Ibutara.
Yeah.
hmm
Is there anything else you want to say about Poetry Slam?
So yeah, regarding poetry slam, we like it to like just open people to hear about the poetry slam and stuff because when we visited other cities other than the South Valley, so like when we go to the north or when we go to a little bit to the east, a lot of them are don't know what is poetry slam, and basically we just want them to uh, get into writing and read their own writing first, and before we get into the details of the rules of poetry slam. And sometimes we create the events using a theme. So, like for example, unspoken anxiety or
Yeah.
unspoken lust. So, so sometimes people are like, oh, what to write? So, like as a prompt, and also like we choose the theme uh, carefully as a so people can like um, express what is the thoughts that they haven't been spoken about, and that's why the name is unspoken as well.
I brought this up in a meeting once, but
Mm-hmm.
there's still plenty that really it's not a really good idea to speak about it here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Not really good, and is in writing or as in reading?
No, no. Like well, if you're in a poetry slam,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you wouldn't want to say anything that got certain elements of Indonesia upset uh,
Okay.
if they found out about it, right? I mean, don't you have to be somewhat careful what subjects you touch on?
Oh, I understand what you mean. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you don't really have to worry about it much because you're not being monitored by, there's not really a government monitoring you or anything, I don't guess. Do you
Yeah, yeah,
see
that's the
see
thing.
what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I understand.
How free are you to say what is unspoken? I'm careful.
Mm-hmm.
You,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's things I don't talk about. Uh,
As an organizer, it is something that we have to take consideration as well, but also at the same time, uh, as a poet and as a writer, we also wanted to create this space as a space where you can speak freely.
mhm.
So what we tell people is that you can read about anything as long as it does not, so it's not like racist or xenophobic and sexist, something like that.
Right. Well,
Hmm.
do you know Ruben? I can't remember his last name. He's a character in this area, and he's been
Uh-huh.
around. He's been around a long time,
Hmm.
and he's done some public events. Do you know the Ben Patra, Chris Patra, Kim Patra, any of them? You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I,
Kim
I
Patra, yeah.
Right. I know Ruben through Patra. He has an organic farm, and has one of these things where you can order, and they'll deliver organic produce to your place. He sings with Chris sometimes. Very cool guy.
Okay, okay.
And I went to a thing he did here where he argued that there is no God, right? With
Oh, okay.
somebody on the other side saying there is a God. It was a very old fashioned type of discussion to me, really like
Uh-huh,
something I would have heard when I was much, much younger.
uh-huh.
Um, but I wondered at the time, I thought, well, that's not the sort of thing you'd necessarily want to do in Aceh, right? Or
Uh-huh,
I, w-
uh-huh.
I wondered how far he could take something like that.
Uh, Actually, Donnie already read a piece about atheism and not believing a God. So we've heard that kind of poem before, and like maybe it was what government Indonesian would probably think of, like probably for the conservative is how freely we can talk about something. Really, as long as it's not sexist and xenophobic and it's not racist, we will let you have this space for you to express what is it that you have in mind,
Yeah.
including something like atheism, including something like LGBT rights, including something like any kind of struggle that you have.
Hmm. So that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. That's cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Because we also draw the line, like, yeah, I mean, if you're mean to each other, if the reading that you have is not good for other people, then of course we're not gonna allow that.
You live in Singaraja, is that right?
So I'm currently living in Sanur actually.
You live in Sanur?
Yeah, I'm just across the Bali Mandara.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. What um what do you do, may I ask, other than the poetry slam?
Well, I work in a very corporate company for a business consultants.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I can see
So,
that. No, you're sharp. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so I work for business consultants. That's for my 9 to 5 Monday, Friday activity.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that's good.
Thank you.
Uh, and where are you from? Are you from Singaraja?
So no, I'm from Jakarta, but I moved to Singaraja in 2013 for study.
Oh.
And as I just moved to South Bali in 2019, last year. I
Hmm.
just moved last year, yeah.
Oh. Oh. Wow.
And so before that, I do go back and forth from Singaraja to wherever it is the event that we want to do.
To me, going to Singaraja is like a major event. That's because they're building that road that's going to cut straight through. I don't know how good that is either, but
Hmm.
that'll make it easier. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we can carpool there. So like everyone who wants to join to Singaraja, we can just carpool in together.
Uh-huh. Can you tell me like what it was like for you growing up? What you know, uh, what do you come out of? I want to see
Okay.
what sort of background produced somebody that started the Unspoken Poetry Slam here.
Uh, well, I actually study in Singaraja for an English education.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my last year, I take a focus on literature. And
Mm.
so in that last year, um, my college assignment is like I have to write, I have to produce something. It could be a book, it could be like a media or something like that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kicking off from that. And I actually also just figure out, I just like find out about poetry slam is in my college years as well. So like really the my interest in writing poetry, listening to poetry, and or even creating an event, it all started in my during my college years,
Mm.
and it started kicking off to actually like creating a space and learn how to do everything from volunteering at the Ubud Brothers Festival. Because like then I learned like, oh, this is the kind of audience that you meet, and like um, a poetry slam that you see on internet, like the one from the America, sometimes has a little bit difference from the poetry slam that you see in Australia. And then when you see here in the at the festival, you see everyone from all over the world reading their piece. It's very different as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all started from like when in the college year, in the last uh, year of my college, that I have to write a poetry book. And actually, I don't have to write a poetry book, but I choose to. I mean, I could write a novel, I could write everything else, but
Yeah.
I choose to write poetry, and then I practice even more on how to perform poetry slam, and then I volunteer at the Ubud Festival, learn how to create an event, and then building network as well. And so I met a Malaysian spoken word artist as well in 2015, 2016. And she has been the one that like mentoring us how to actually like breaking down the details step by step on how to create the movement. And so
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
it's really a lot of our project is really based on the building network and connection and learning by doing.
Mm.
And
Mm.
if you want to, if you want to tell about like even the earlier years than my college, well, I'm not exactly from Singaraja, but I like to own myself that yeah, I live in Singaraja. I know the city around. And before, I'm from Jakarta.
Mm-hmm.
And not much happened in Jakarta for me. Like, chapter of Jakarta in my life is pretty much just school, and I was a flag troops, the ones that raise the flag on Independence Day.
You were what? Would you repeat that?
A flag troop. You
Uh,
know how Indonesians celebrate Independence Day by raising a flag in the
oh, yeah.
president? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was a flag troop for the government in Jakarta.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
oh.
So yeah, that's pretty much like the highlight of my chapter in Jakarta. I was just doing normal stuff and then being a flag trip, and then I moved to Bali, and life became much better.
So why did you move to Bali? What made you go from Jakarta to Bali?
So when I was choosing university and what I wanted to study, I am interested in learning English, especially like the literature.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened that in between all of the schools that I applied to, the one that I was accepted is the one in Singaraja. And
Oh.
I chose the Singaraja because I can only have like three choices. The first
Mm-hmm.
choices was in Jakarta, but I know it was pretty hard. And second choices was in Yogyakarta, and the third choices is Singaraja. So I got the one in Singaraja.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you came here the same year we did,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
2013. We came in December 2013. Um,
Oh.
I like Singaraja. Whenever I'm up there, I think, oh, it'd be nice to live up here. It's so, there's less happening, there's less
Mhm.
traffic.
Mhm.
It's all simpler. However, I really need good tech support. Um,
Tech
and
support.
tech support. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
I have to have two laptops. There has to be one working. Um, I've got tech support here that will, come over here on a motor scooter within an hour of when I call them, and
Yes.
uh, I'm I'm a slave to cyberspace. I don't know what you'd say, but I can get out of that. But I really like it up there. Um,
Hmm. You can't. There isn't a tech support that would meet your criteria in Singaraja.
well, I really don't know. I mean, there has to be. There's all those students and everything. There has to be.
Uh,
However, I I have some very close German friends up there that
mhm.
have been living up there for years and years. A
Oh.
beautiful villa in Saturday,
Mhm.
uh, and when they were having trouble with their computers, they get hold of me, and I'd get my tech guy here, and they'd send it down here. So that sort of scared me for
I
spending
see. I
much
see.
time up there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah.
um, anyway, say, I see your, you know, I was communicating with Michael Rothenberg, how long ago? I don't
Oh.
know,
Mhm.
months ago. And he is the co-founder of this 100,000 Poets for
Mhm.
Peace thing.
Mhm.
And then I connected you with him,
Uh-huh.
and now I see you're a part of it.
I think the next open mic was Siobhan who organized it.
100,000 Poets for Peace on the Facebook page.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I just joined the open mic for the first segment
Yeah, that's what I
last month.
mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Mhm.
really great. That's really great. Yeah, you ought to push that. That guy is a mover and shaker in America. I mean, he does all sorts of stuff, and he's a wild man.
Mhm. I don't
Uh,
know him personally. I do know that he is like he leads the movement, but I have
mm-hmm.
not yet like spoken to him directly. But I do know him, like know of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's like out of the old Beat Poet era. He's very far and a little hippie. He's like combination Beat Poet, hippie poet,
Uh-huh.
and
Mm-hmm.
he's got a lot of energy.
Okay.
And uh, we've been around a lot of the same things. We don't know each other personally, hanging out a lot or anything. But I like what he does.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Me
Uh,
too.
so when is that, and how can we tune into that?
So basically, for like 5 months, for the next four actually, for the next four and including this month,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you want to join the open mic at the end of the month, you just need to send in an email of your name and your bio and where you're from to the PIC of that month. So there should be, if you can see the email of the PIC of that month on the poster, and it's already published in Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. The 100,000 Poets for Change. Hmm.
Ah,
It's
well,
very
that's
easy.
cool. Could
Hmm.
we hear a poem now?
Oh, what?
Will you read a poem? One of your
Oh,
poems.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah,
Haha.
sure. Let me see. Oh, all right, okay.
First, let me ask you a question. I
Hmm.
assume you write poetry in Indonesian as well as English.
I try to write in Bahasa Indonesia, but it's not as good as when I'm writing in English. Not saying that
Uh-huh.
I'm writing really good in English, but it's just like I can write in English, but it has a different tone in Bahasa Indonesia, and also like my reading references, I read a lot more in English than I read in Bahasa Indonesia as well. So like
Uh-huh.
the vocabulary itself, I don't have a good ones for like Bahasa Indonesia to write yet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right.
All right, I can read one. This is a this is a new piece. It's called Heritage. I pray for you, brother and sister, in this moment that barbed wires lift off of your heart and soul, leaving your life in peace and set free. And I pray that too for myself, as my fiance adopted my sincerity when I said it. Maybe. Maybe it's because I was born before the sun was awake that mother well planted a seed of fear of the sun, that the damage of its kiss was something to be warned against. I was 10 when I learned how to shield myself from the sun. It's not too late, my mom thought. I was smothered in anything labeled whitening. Dakika behinindo, delokno naku kinclong resik ra gelem pokoke londongono, like the
Hmm.
third Dutch, she said. And as the beauty guru that she is, mother handed over all the magic potions she could get her hands on to me. And coming lunchtime on a Sunday morning, Nonna left after we played house. Mother praised how pronounced the bones of her cheeks and called her Chantik. And all my youth I spent time pinching the cheeks in the mirror to appear Chantik, and Chantik is all I want to be. The message mom scripted into my brain. I was 16 when I finally got the sharpest bone on the cheek of any cheek in the house, but mother left a little footnote. Do you remember the seed I gave you? Why don't you water them nicely? So when the queen demanded you to look pretty, she meant 3 layers of foundation. She meant pointy, rosy cheeks, and she meant long sleeves, hats. Ugh, take the umbrella, ngayal kowe ki panas. I didn't water the seed. I joined the flag troops every Saturday noon. I took swimming lessons when the sun's still out. Then after high school, mother and I don't talk like we used to. Even until today, I sometimes daydreaming the routine we used to do. Even after I met my fiance who loves me with everything that I am, she asks, are you in peace with yourself? Is it just? I have all the power to blame mom as if I can blame God for this body. And what I have been learning is how to repot a plant from the plastic into a terracotta pot and mix different soil so I'm not just growing but thriving. My body is a garden. Mother may have thought how to bleach the melanin she inherited to me, And there are days when I wish still I could turn the seed into a jasmine, but I wouldn't trade anything than becoming a petunia, than becoming the night tulip that I am. They are badass flowers, man. I'm reluctant going to the beach for a swim in the sea, mostly because of the hot sands, but I would dive into the pool of acceptance, the pool of fearless queens like Alice Walker. I would be drinking my inspiration from, which I hope Mom would join too. I have made my peace with the sun, and yes, I was born before the sun awoke, so I have acknowledged and appreciated how stunning the reflected color of the sun kisses on my skin, and just like the moon, I am infinite. Thank you.
Hey, could you send me that?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'd like to. I'd like to post it so if somebody heard it, they could go back and read it. And
Oh, thank you.
there was, yeah, I like you. You have a good presentation. That's what I told you when I met you here
Mm-hmm.
at the Ruma Sanur.
Yeah.
Um, I said you had the best presentation. I don't like to compare people, but that's what I said to you. I said you had the best presentation. Because like to me in poetry, there's the poem and there's the way it's presented,
Yeah.
and I've been around some poetry in the Bay Area. I knew a number of the beat poets, and uh, there's a tendency for people in groups to start talking like each other naturally,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
for the poets to start reading like each other, and they get a lot of them would get into a monotone uh, that was sort of it was sort of flat, and then
Okay.
somebody would come along that had more feeling, and you know it would be
Mm-hmm.
like adding color to it, and that's how I felt about your
Mm-hmm.
presentation. Of course, that was in person, which was even more had more dimension than just over the phone. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's good. That's good. Great. Listening to what you had to say about your life, it appears you had a real sort of complete change when you went to college, right?
Uh-huh. Yes, I did.
Can you elaborate on that?
Okay. So, well, I guess it's pretty classic on like life experiences, and college is like where you experiment on things. So
Mm-hmm.
during college is the first time I get out of the house, and even though I technically still live with my relative, but I
Mm-hmm.
it was a total new environment for me. And at
Mm-hmm.
that time as well, I had a pretty much a normal teenager tragic love story. So I needed an escape. I needed to get myself an activity to get myself busy, and I fell into a theater community in my university. I did not pay. I
Uh-huh.
was like I joined in as the behind the scene people, behind the scene crew.
Yeah, yeah.
And through this theater community, my mentor also informed me a lot about the literature focus that we can take at the end of the year, and that's why I made it as well. Uh, Aside from, I already have an interest, and then my mentor kind of like um, lead me to the lead me to like make the most out of the last year of my university in taking the literature course.
Is your mentor the woman from Malaysia you spoke of before?
No, she is actually one of quite a respected poet in Bali. Her name is Sonia Piscayanti. yeah, so she's quite a pretty respected poet, especially for feminist women poetry in Bali. And she writes poetry
Mm.
both in English and in Bahasa Indonesia. So she was my mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and she really really mentoring me during throughout the last year of the uni with the whole art community, helping with the theater, and then um, she indirectly introducing me to poetry slam because I
Mm-hmm.
figure out poetry slam by myself through festival and also YouTube and just out of curiosity. But she
Mm-hmm.
because I was diving into the festival, into the writers festival, that was because of her invite. So like she invited me to the writers festival, and then I dive into the community in the writers festival, and then find out about poetry slam, and that's how I fell in love even more with poetry and started to get to know a lot more poets from all over the world, including the Malaysian poet that I told you about. And
Who can you tell me her name?
her name is Ilya Sumanto. Her name is Ilya, Illya. So yeah, I met Ilya, and then uh, I meet a lot of other literature enthusiasts more frequently through the festival, and then we just sort of like get together and then like, all right, let's do it because we all want the same thing.
It sounded like uh, you met her before your senior year, though, right?
Yeah, I already met my mentor since the first year, but she was just like any other professor. I wasn't that close with her. She was just teaching one
Mm.
of the class that I had. But then the last
Mm-hmm.
2 years of my uni is because I took my theater activity with her, and then she like yeah like a mentor throughout the literature, and then also my thesis is about literature, so she again like even working closely with me even more because of my thesis. That's
Mm-hmm.
why she really built like my base foundation in understanding literature. I would say like I owe it to her.
Mm. And well, who are your major influences? What writers do you like the
Do
most?
I like the most? The technically they're not like well-known poets yet. I mean they are well-known within like
Uh-huh.
poetry slam community. So I love Phil K and Sarah K. They are quite famous on YouTube. And then I really adore Miles Merrill. He's actually a really great poet from Australia, but he's more of a behind the scene. He's more of a creative director of the community. He's not like the upfront artist. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you want to talk about classic that everybody knows, I definitely adore Maya Angelou.
Oh
hmm
yeah, yeah.
And another
Hmm.
one, she's more famous around millennials, Sabrina Benaim. So yeah, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them are a spoken word poet that, I mean, they do have books and they do like work in community, but not as famous as everybody knows, like Maya Angelou. But if you look
Yeah,
them
yeah,
up, you can know who they are. hmm
yeah, yeah. Um, so you speak really good English. How was your English when you arrived in 2013 in Singaraja?
Oh, well, yeah, actually I chose English education because I know I'm pretty good at English. So, it's something that
Was
yeah, it's something.
was
hmm
there Was there any English spoken in your home?
My sister, but I I don't really speak in English with her anyway. But I started practicing my English since junior high really intensely. Uh, it's internet
Uh-huh.
culture thing because of social media.
Uh-huh.
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 I kind of lead a community of a singer, so it's like a fan-based thing. I was a fan of a singer,
Uh-huh.
and I kind of like run the whole page, so I have to practice a lot of translating between Indonesian and English. And from that picked up, I like it's so it's like a blog, but it's on social media. So like I have to fill in feeds translating from English to Bahasa Indonesia or vice versa. What are every little things that we know about this artist to the fans? I mean, out of
Mm. Mm.
I mean willingly, not like as a job, because I like the artist. So like we do it because we're fans, and I
Mm-hmm.
do that until high school. So, but it is just
Mm.
naturally, I guess, from yeah,
Mm-hmm.
from videos, from the internet, from movies, from watching interviews of the artists. Yeah, it's very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I did take
Mm.
my mother noticed that, and she did like let me go to a proper English course, but I didn't finish the whole English course.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. Um, uh, what's the origin of your family name,
What's my
Helzainka?
Oh, actually, it's
Where,
a made up
where,
name actually. My parents made it up. It's a bunch of first syllables of my my dad's first syllables, my grandpa from my dad's side first syllable, and then my mom's first syllable, and then the grandpa from my mom's side first syllable. So it's like Hel, Za, In, Ka. So it's like a made up name actually.
uh, oh, that is far out.
Yeah.
It's so Virginia Helzainka is not your full legal
Well,
name.
it is, but it's not like I thought you would think like it's something that you get. No, it's not like a. You know how Western culture you take the the man's name in your family? Like, yeah, we don't do that. But my parents had like made up the last name. So like me and my sister has the same last name, but it's not because of it's my dad's name. It's because my parents made it up.
Oh, I thought that was just Bali. You mean that's true in Java too?
Oh, that's Indonesian thing.
Oh, that's an Indonesian. I didn't
Hello.
realize that. I thought it was a Bali thing. That's really unusual worldwide.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. I understand now. I didn't realize.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. Okay, so that's a cool last name. Haha.
Hmm.
To me, the pressing issue of of this time
Hmm.
is climate change.
Okay.
Um, so, uh, and you might have noticed, except that I've focused on that a lot in the poems I've read.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and so, what do you think about that? What do you think about climate change? What's happening there, and what's happening in Indonesia about it? What do other people think about it, or what can you say about that subject?
It's to be honest, thinking about Indonesian reaction to climate change is kind of like you want to be hopeless, but you can't because then you're allowing it to be. So
Mm-hmm.
really, to me personally, I really just have to start with myself and my own little circle, like circle of friends.
Yeah.
And talking about climate change as well is also um, not just talking about it, but also like applying it to our daily life.
Yeah.
And it's a dilemma, I would say, because like even there was a time when everyone is just so proud of um, using, always bringing a water bottle everywhere, for example, or just not taking uh, not taking away food from a restaurant, rather just eat there or just finish it, something like that. But now there's just so many um, quick. I think it's because of COVID-19 too. It's like there's so many packaging and there's so many waste that we can't. That's just like double now than
Yeah.
before.
That's right.
And really, uh, it's hard for me. I try to write a message about climate change as well into a poetry, but it's hard for me because personally, it's still even hard for me to do it just in real life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's
Um,
always the system in the way we take care of our environment. The system is not supporting. It's not green, and yeah, it's really hard. It do feel like a little bit of you kind of feel like you a little bit of isolated to wanting to be green and do the right thing.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. Do you get
Yeah.
what I mean? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Well, there's the green thing. Uh, there's pollution and there's climate change, and they're related. But pollution is poisoning. You know,
Mm-hmm.
pollution is it. Well, the a lot of the green movement is trying to reduce the poisoning of the air and the land and the water.
Yeah,
The
that's the
work,
thing. Because
yeah,
like to actually change that, you have to do it diplomatically, and you have to change it like through the system. And I feel like powerless to do that. So like in my personal life, I can only do like what is in my circle and what is it that I can do to helping that it's
oh,
not worsening the situation, you know?
yeah, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
understand. I
Mm-hmm.
understand.
Because like for example, the new plant, the new power plant in Celukan Bawang in the north
Yeah,
that is so not eco-friendly because of it's from the coal.
yeah,
Yeah. So like that, like there are things that you could do to stop that, but it's very it's the legal stuff that you have that could make a change, right?
yeah,
So like in I don't have that power at the moment. I know people who does, and I'm like the thing that I can do is support the people who does by spreading the words or like voicing out by, for example, opening up an event that's talking about um, that that problem that we have.
yeah,
So like what I can do is something like indirect, but I guess at some point a change gotta always start with yourself and people around you.
yeah. Well, you're pointing out the coal plant up north. That is the worst thing, the biggest contributor to climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Poisoning, the poisoning of the air, the water, and the earth
Yeah.
is is not is not at. I mean, it's terrible, but we
Mhm.
can recover from it. You
Mhm.
know, I think we're moving into territory with climate change where it's looking like uh, we're not going to be able to stop it or recover from it. Um, and so I'm always, to me, being involved in the poetry slam, except for the first one when where I went, and that was just a fluke, you know, uh, was I'm 75 years old,
Mhm.
and I've had some involvement with movements and things all my life, and basically have seen it, uh, getting that all the movements that I've been involved with, civil rights, nuclear freeze, environmental stuff, and not as much as, no matter what I was into, I was doing nothing compared to what a lot of other people were.
Mhm.
Um, but I see so much work and so many people trying so hard to, bring about, uh, real civil rights, or to, the nuclear. The nuclear power thing was somewhat successful. But the nuclear weapons work in the area of nuclear weapons that I focused on quite a bit. Uh, it's the people don't even think it's a problem anymore. There's my wonderful little doggy, and it's a very, very big problem, threatening all forms of higher life every minute.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is that all our work and everything we've done has not been as big as the movement to for the world for the uh, for the human race to destroy itself and the
Wow.
take the rest of the biosphere with it, uh, or a great deal of it.
Oh my God.
But Saint Francis was asked, "Well, what would you do if?" Yeah, he was hoeing in his garden, and some other monk asked him, "What would you do if you heard that the world was going to end today?" And he said, "I'd keep hoeing." Uh,
Yeah, what can you do?
yeah, that's what I do. I mean, I do archiving and oral history and things,
Mhm.
and I think we're lucky to be alive, and it's great. And we don't know what the future is going to be, and the human race is very resilient and brilliant, and it could be this COVID-19 thing will help turn the human race around and make it realize that there are some real super big problems that have to be seriously dealt with.
Yeah,
But we'll see.
100%.
We'll see. Anyway, I do think that what you're doing with the poetry slam is a great thing, and you don't need to do anything more than that. And I hope you keep it up.
Mhm.
You're pretty young. You're very young, and I don't know how young, but I'm not going to ask you. Uh, and um, what do you have in mind? Do you have any plans? Do you have any dreams or anything more?
Oh well, yeah. We. I was hoping that the poetry slam, I we can create a national poetry slam and then organize it to send the winner as well for joining the World Poetry Slam as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like technically that is where we want to go with, but we we're more ambitious in just spreading the culture of poetry slam. It is like we just wanted to let it sit with the people, so like people know what is poetry slam in Bali. Like that's our first, like that's still our priority. Then joining the World Poetry Slam.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Good. 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 Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing that
Yeah.
happen. Yeah,
I, mhm.
I think you ought to stick with it. Yeah, you got a good thing going, and it could go far, and it I think it brings something very helpful to young people, and that's really important. Okay, very good. Oh, hey, wait. You have a
Mhm.
book.
I do, yeah.
Oh, now wait. We can't let you have a consumer product without promoting it. What's the name of your book? Can we get it?
It's on Google Play, but if you want to get like the paperback, I guess I have a few. Most of them are in Singaraja at the production house, but I still have a few here with me. But if you want to get like the ebook, it's on Google Play Books.
All
Okay.
right. What's the name of the
It's
book?
it's called Cocktail, Waves, and Archer.
Uh-huh. Cool.
Hmm.
Uh and how can I get a copy since I'm so near you?
We can just meet sometime, and I can just give you a copy.
No, I want to buy it.
Oh, you're so nice. You can just treat me with the Genius, and I'll give you the book. That's all right.
All right. All right. Gonna slip in here real quick and give you information on Virginia's book. Virginia Helzainka, Cocktail, Waves, and Archer. Now I want to call her back and say, who's Archer? But too late. Got to look at the book to know. And it's on Google Play. It says here, Cocktail, Waves, and Archer is a collection of poetry about the early stages of becoming a young adult. It is a journey of coming out of age through facing everyday struggle, carving out a path to find the light, and then learning to accept the ugly truth of life. Through her raw perspective, Virginia will tag you along the journey on a personal level. About the author, Virginia Helzainka, who goes by Verrell Hawk, VerrellHawk, 2 words, Verrell Hawk on Instagram, is a bright weirdo and anything cat-related enthusiast. Took a focus on creative writing in her final year. She got her bachelor degree in English education from Ganesha University of Education. Virginia published a collection of poems, Cocktail, Waves, and Archer, under Mahima Institute, Indonesia, on May 2017. While working on her next book, you can meet Virginia on Poetry Slam events around Bali. Follow her works on social media, Instagram and Facebook at Verrell Hawk. Webpage, I am my own picture.tumblr.com. Okay, and then we said goodbye for a while, and here's the tail end of that. Okay, very good. Thanks a lot. Take
Yeah,
care.
thank you.
All right. So we have come to the end of another episode of Life in Bali. Thanks a lot to Virginia Helzainka, our guest, and good luck to you, Virginia, with your poetry and the Poetry Slam. And may it go global and cover the solar system and become intergalactic. So until we meet again, This is DC Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Dogga Bandita and Feline Cuchita, and praying for dear Katrinka to come in Sunday. But yeah, she's got to, shoot the arrow right into the bullseye to make it. We'll see. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.